7:32 p.m. A French security official says Spanish police are looking for a Kangoo utility vehicle rented by suspects in the Barcelona attacks that may have crossed into France, AP reports. The official said Spanish police alerted French authorities to the vehicle, rented on Thursday in Spain. The official said French police nationwide are on the lookout for the car, and were given information from Spain about 4 suspects believed to be on the run. The official was not authorized to be publicly named, speaking of an ongoing manhunt. After 2 deadly vehicle attacks in Barcelona and a nearby resort, France's interior minister said his country reinforced police surveillance on Friday of what is normally an open border between Spain and France. French officials said on Friday evening that no one has been detained so far in the Spanish investigation. 6:37 p.m. Riot police have cordoned off a section of Las Ramblas as a group of people, some with masks over their faces, began shouting and bottles were thrown, Haley Dixon reports. The group were shouting anti-fascist slogans and clapping. 4:56 p.m. A 22-year-old eyewitness, Raquel Doval, who was holidaying with her family at the time of the attack in Cambrils, describes how she had to hide in a restaurant to escape the terror. Cambrils eyewitness: we had to hide in restaurant, we were frightened. 00:052423 p.m. Holidaymakers worried about terror attacks in Spain might not be covered if they refuse to fly, insurers have warned, reports Laura Hughes. A tour operator is only legally obliged to offer travelers a full refund or an alternative holiday if the Foreign Office advises against visiting a destination. Spain has not been put on the Foreign Office's no-go list following the 2 terror attacks in Cambrils and Barcelona. Malcolm Tarling, from the Association of British Insurers (ABI), told The Telegraph while some travel insurance policies may cover cancellation if the government advise against it, you may not be covered if you decide against travelling to your destination when there is no advice not to do so. Travel insurance will cover the costs of any emergency medical treatment needed if you are caught up in a terrorist attack. If you are in, or are planning to visit, an area where an attack has occurred, you should follow any advice from the UK government and, where necessary, talk to your travel agent, tour operator, airline or other transport provider. If you change your travel arrangements, then your travel insurance can usually be transferred to cover the new destination. 3:56 p.m. Pablo Ramirez, a waiter at the El Punt restaurant in Ripoll, told The Telegraph that he was good friends with Driss Oukabir, and that he had been very surprised by his arrest last night, reports Harry York. My friend, Driss, he is first to be accused, he added. He lives close to the station here, I know him well. I do not know the others, apart from Musa, his brother. He was here when it happened I think, so I don't think it was him. They are talking about Musa, so maybe he is connected, who knows? Do I think he would do something like this? No, definitely not. 3:37 p.m. President Donald Trump set out to reassure Americans this morning, as they wake up to the latest news from Barcelona. Harriet Alexander in New York writes. He said that the Homeland Security and law enforcement teams were on alert and closely watching for any sign of trouble. He then followed up with a dig at the Democrats, accusing them of threatening the country's security by their refusal to back his travel ban and the resistance to his plans to give police a free rein. He said he is traveling from his New Jersey golf course to Camp David today to discuss national security, the border and the military, his favorite topics. Homeland Security and law enforcement are on alert, closely watching for any sign of trouble. Our borders are far tougher than ever before. Donald J. Trump at Real. Donald Trump, August 18, 2017. The obstructionist Democrats make security for our country very difficult. They use the courts and associated delay at all times. Must stop. Donald J. Trump at Real. Donald Trump, August 18, 2017. Radical Islamic terrorism must be stopped by whatever means necessary. The courts must give us back our protected rights. Have to be tough. Donald J. Trump at Real. Donald Trump, August 18, 2017. Heading to Camp David for major meeting on national security, the border and the military, which we are rapidly building to strongest ever. Donald J. Trump at Real. Donald Trump, August 18, 2017. 3:26 p.m. The terror attack in Barcelona that left 14 dead bore an eerie similarity to other recent attacks, showing all the hallmarks of new jihadi methods, writes Jacob Burns. It echoed recent attacks in Nice, Berlin and London. In each of those instances, an attacker drove a vehicle into crowds at high-profile locations in the city, with deadly effect. The July 2016 NICE attack involving a lorry killed dozens. Credit Eric Gaillard. Reuters. In each case, ISIL also claimed responsibility, saying that the attackers had answered a call to attack nations who are participating in the anti-ISIL coalition. Click here to read more. 3:20 p.m. The U.S. State Department has confirmed that one American citizen died in the Barcelona attack and another has suffered minor injuries, reports Harriet Alexander. A spokesman said the U.S. Consulate General in Barcelona continues to work with local authorities to identify and provide assistance to U.S. citizens affected by the terrorist attacks in Las Ramblas and Cambrils. At this time we can confirm that one U.S. citizen was killed. We can also confirm that one U.S. citizen sustained minor injuries. Out of respect for the family's privacy in their time of grief, we have no further comment. Spanish authorities report that there are still several casualties that are not yet identified. Click here to read more about the victims. 3:17 p.m. The woman who died following the attack in Cambrils was a part of a family visiting from Zaragoza, 2 other members of which have also been hospitalized, reports Hannah Strange. The victim has not yet been named. Police in Cambrils said they could not be certain if the attackers had come from outside the beach town or had a base there. Asked by The Telegraph if they believed there could still be members of ISIL in the resort, an officer who declined to be named said, "I would not rule it out." Police chiefs in the town were huddled in meetings as along the promenade tourists began to return to bars and beach chairs, some nervous, others in disbelief at the tragedy that had unfolded while many were sleeping. Spanish police in Cambrils after the attack credit Cambrils FA Raquel Doval, a 22-year-old student from Navarre on holiday with her family, was having dinner at a restaurant terrace on the promenade when they heard shots, which they initially mistook for fireworks. Suddenly, the staff told them to run inside and hide, and they saw people fleeing and screaming. "We just arrived yesterday. It was our first night," she told The Telegraph, describing the terror she felt barricaded inside the restaurant and later, as the family edged their way back to the hotel, sticking to areas off-limits to vehicles for fear of further attack. Nevertheless, her family planned to stay and finish the holiday, she said. "We do not want to let them think we are afraid. You have to go on." 2:50 p.m. Motorways leading out of Barcelona were gridlocked due to police checkpoints on Friday afternoon, reports James Rothwell. Officers armed with shotguns were scrutinizing every passenger in every vehicle leaving Barcelona, via the C32 road, slowing the pace of traffic to a crawl. French police officers control vehicles coming across the border from Spain. Credit Raymond Roigafp. The road runs south along the coastline towards the small town of Alcana, where a huge explosion took place on Wednesday. Police say they found canisters of gas inside the house and believe it is linked to the attacks. 2:27 p.m. The Queen has sent a message of support to the King of Spain describing the terrorist attacks in his country as terrible and commenting how it is deeply upsetting when innocent people are put at risk. The Queen said in her message, "Prince Philip and I send our sincere condolences to Your Majesty, and the people of Spain, following the terrible terrorist attacks in Barcelona and Cambrils which killed and seriously injured many. It is deeply upsetting when innocent people are put at risk in this way when going about their daily lives. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who have lost loved ones and the people who are recovering in hospital. Please convey our heartfelt sympathies to all who have been affected by these appalling incidents." 2:03 p.m. A police chief has told a press conference that the driver of the van used in the Barcelona attack has still not been identified. Josep Luis Trapero told reporters that investigators are linking the attacks on La Rambla, Cambrils and the explosion in Alcana. While suspect Musa Kabir, who remains on the run, has been named by sources as the suspected van driver, news website La Vanguardia reported that police sources said they have not ruled out the driver as one of those killed in Cambrils. The hired van used in the Las Ramblas attack. 4 of the dead men in Cambrils have been identified. They were aged 21, 27, 28 and 34. 3 were Moroccan and 1 was Spanish, and police said none of them were previously known to the security services for terror-related reasons. But Mr. Trapero, a Catalan regional police official, told reporters the 5th man had not yet been identified. He also revealed that police had yet to identify the Barcelona driver and said it could be one of the people shot in Cambrils, but we don't know yet. Mr. Trapero said the suspects had been preparing even bigger attacks for some time. He also confirmed the same officer killed 4 of the 5 terrorists in Cambrils. To kill 4 people, even if you are a professional, is not easy to digest. That 3 Moroccans and 1 Spaniard had been arrested. We work with a hypothesis that the authors were preparing for some time in this building of Al-Qana both attacks. It was a group. We do not know the specific number, but we do not rule out having other attacks in mind. They are all identified. 1:42 p.m. Mariano Rajoy, the Spanish Prime Minister, has said that terrorism is Europe's main problem right now. He said, "What makes us most effective is that we are all united. These attacks are not only against us, but against all countries that defend freedom and democratic values." He added, "It is very important to work together and exchange everything that has to be exchanged. It is the first problem in Europe right now." 1:39 p.m. With terror attacks becoming an increasingly regular occurrence, who should parents explain what they are seeing on their TV screens to children? Experts from the Royal College of Psychiatrists have advised that parents should be honest with their children about terror attacks. Click here for the full advice. 1:21 p.m. As Spain begins 3 days of mourning, well-wishers have laid flowers and lit candles in memory of the victims in Barcelona. Dozens lay flowers for Barcelona terror attack victims. 0:5511 1 p.m. UK authorities are urgently looking into reports of a British dual-nationality child believed to be missing in Spain following the terror attacks. Prime Minister Theresa May said, "This is believed to be 7-year-old Julian Cadman, whose father is from Sydney, who has lived in England and has been pictured wearing a jumper from a nursery school in Kent." Julian Cadman, 7, pictured in a UK nursery school jumper. Mrs. May, who spoke to Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy on Friday morning, added, "We must work together if we are to confront this evil of terrorism, and also to confront and deal with the perverted extremist ideology which drives it, ridding the internet of poisonous material, and ensuring that our police and security services have the powers that they need. Terrorism is the great threat that we all face, but together we will defeat it." British dual national child missing after Spain terror attacks, says 1:59 p.m. in Madrid, the Spanish capital. Flags are flying at half-mast to honor those who were killed and injured in the terror attacks. Flags in Madrid fly at half-mast. 0:0321 p.m. A 4th person has been arrested in connection with the Spanish terror attacks, police in Catalonia say. The suspect, whose identity has not been revealed, was held in Ripoll, where 2 others had previously been arrested. 1:48 p.m. France is strengthening controls on its border with Spain, the French Interior Minister says, amid fears that terrorists may try to enter France or has already done so, reports David Chazin. 1:44 p.m. Britain's most senior counter-terrorism police officer has said UK officers are liaising with their Spanish counterparts. Scotland Yard Assistant Commissioner Mark Rowley said officers are at UK ports today ready to meet British holidaymakers returning to the UK from the region in order to take any witness accounts. Anyone who has returned from Spain can also call the confidential hotline with information on 0800 789 321. We are also urging people who have images or footage that may assist investigators to upload them to ukpoliceimagieappeal.com. 1:29 p.m. One Catalan police officer killed 4 of the 5 terrorists who used an Audi A3 to plow through pedestrians in the seaside city of Cambrils last night, reports James Crisp. The officer was carrying out a spot check on a roundabout near the seafront of Cambrils, when the Audi hit 4 people before ramming into the police car. 1 officer suffered a broken tibia and a heavy blow to the head in the collision. One of the 5 terrorists charges towards police with a knife in Cambrils. Credit Sky News. The terrorist's car overturned in the crash. Seeing the terrorists getting out of the car and advancing towards him with machetes and axes, the hero officer shot 4 of the terrorists. A 5th fled in the direction of a park, stabbing a passerby in the face with a knife before being gunned down by a police sergeant with a submachine gun, according to La Vanguardia. 1:10 p.m. The dead and wounded from the attacks include 34 different nationalities, Catalan authorities have said. A total of 130 people were wounded in the attacks in Barcelona and Cambrils. 1:14 a.m. A small number of Britons were injured in the terror attacks in Spain and additional staff have been sent to Barcelona to help, the Foreign Office said. 1:31 a.m. British witness describes horror of Las Ramblas car attack. 0:491127 a.m. The death toll after the Spanish attacks has risen to 14, emergency services have said. A woman who was critically injured in the town of Cambrils has died. 6 other civilians, including a police officer, were also injured in that attack early today. 11:08 a.m. Thousands of people have held a minute's silence in Barcelona's main square for victims of yesterday's attack. It was attended by Spain's king and premier. Applause breaks out after minute silence for Barcelona attack victims. 0050 The minute's silence on Plaza Catalunya ended in applause and with calls of "I am not afraid" in Catalan and in Spanish. 11:04 a.m. The first named victim of the Barcelona attack is Bruno Gularte, an Italian father of 2 young children, reports Helena Horton. He was on holiday with his partner and 2 children, one of whom is about to start school and the other is 7 months old. Mr. Gularte was crushed to death on the Ramblas by the lorry while walking hand-in-hand with his 5-year-old son, who his wife Martina managed to snatch to safety in the nick of time. She was quoted as telling friends. Martina was following her husband carrying their 7-month-old baby girl Aria in a rucksack she was wearing on her chest when Bruno was run down. La Repubblica newspaper quoted her telling his workmates. Bruno Gularte died in the attack in Barcelona. Credit Tom's Hardware. Martina grabbed their son Alessandro, aged 5, and rushed both children to safety, but Mr. Gularte, 35, was killed instantly. Mr. Gularte worked as a salesman in a computer shop in Legnano in northern Italy. 10:46 a.m. A man caught in the panic of the terrorist attack in Cambrils described the scenes as like watching a horror film. Fitzroy Davies, who earlier told how one of the attackers smiled at police, was visiting the town for a judo camp. He told Sky News he saw one of the attackers get back on his feet, despite suffering police gunshots. He said he came running up, he had silver stuff on him, he had a thing in his hand, and then somebody shouted police, and then within 30 seconds the police came. Next thing you know, they've drawn their guns and they were shouting at the guy, and then shots were fired. He then fell down and then within 2 seconds he stood back up. He then stepped over the fence, charged the police again, and the police then gave some more shots and then he fell down again. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but he was just shouting something and he was going up and down the street and the police were saying stop, it must have been stop, stop, or whatever, and he kept charging until, in the end, they shot him. Mr. Davies said the crazed attacker was behaving like somebody who was on drugs. He said he was just going up and down the street, like ranting, raving, and I don't know if he was all the ticket, I don't know, because he was just going up and down. And then when he took the first round of shots he fell on the floor, and then within 2 seconds, I thought I was watching a film, one of them horror films. The guy just stood up, got back up, walked over the fence, and started laughing at the police. And as he started laughing at the police, he was walking to them and the police started to step backwards and then they shot him again. And that's when he went down. Mr. Davies said the terrorist appeared to be holding some kind of device, later thought to have been a mock trigger for a fake suicide vest. I think it did its job, he said. It made everyone fearful. And I think that's what they were looking for. He had something in his hand and at first everybody kept on thinking he's got something. And that's why everybody was running. Eyewitness accounts of Cambrils shooting. 00581023 a.m. Spanish police have named the man they are seeking as the suspected Barcelona van driver. He is 18-year-old Musa Oukabir, according to local media. He is the brother of Driss Oukabir, a 28-year-old Moroccan who is alleged to have rented the vehicle. 10:20 a.m. Less than 24 hours after the Barcelona attack, Las Ramblas reopened this morning in a show of defiance as Barcelona residents united to help those affected. Las Ramblas reopens for business following the terror attack. Credit Getty. Stallholders opened for business as usual along the main artery of the city. Click here for more reaction. Placards with black ribbons hang on a kiosk in the area where a van crashed into pedestrians at Las Ramblas. Credit Reuters. 10:04 a.m. Police in Spain have said that a terror cell of 12 people is believed to have been behind the attacks in Barcelona and Cambrils as well as the explosion in Alcácer, according to local media. 9:53 a.m. A gas explosion at a house in Alcácer that killed one person on Wednesday is being linked to the attacks. The blast that killed one person and injured 7 others happened at a property in the village 130 miles from Barcelona. Firefighters found an estimated 20 gas cylinders in the property. The house that collapsed after a gas explosion in the village of Alcácer on Wednesday. Credit JAUMESELLARTEPA documents found in the rubble of the house established a connection with the Barcelona massacre, investigators believe. Investigators have revealed that they believe an 8-strong terror cell could have been planning a gas canister attack. 9:35 a.m. At least one more terrorist is still being sought over the Barcelona van attack, Catalan's regional president has said. Carles Puigdemont told local radio there was at least one terrorist still out there, but that we don't have information regarding the capacity to do more harm. This is thought to be the van driver, who is believed to still be on the run after fleeing unarmed. 9:31 a.m. After the twin terror attacks in Spain, both the Spanish and European Union flags are flying at half-mast outside the European Parliament in Brussels this morning. 9:20 a.m. The family of a 7-year-old boy believed to be British has posted on Facebook, begging for his safe return after he was separated from his injured mother in the Barcelona attack, reports Helena Horton. Julian Cadman was in the Spanish city with his mother when the van struck where they were walking. The two were reportedly there to attend a wedding. Julian Cadman is pictured wearing a jumper from a British nursery. Credit John Cadman. It appears Julian is British. Although his aunt and uncle who are searching for him live in Sydney, Julian is pictured wearing a jumper from a nursery in the UK. He also has relatives who live in the UK. Marie John Cadman, the mother of Julian, was found in hospital and is in a serious but stable condition. Click here for more details on those missing. After the attack, 9:00 a.m. the Catalan police have confirmed the third person to be arrested is a 34-year-old Moroccan national who was living in Ripoll. He is believed to be an associate of Abu Kabir and the driver of the van remains on the run. 8:45 a.m. Authorities investigating the attacks in Barcelona and cambrils believe that a cell of 8 people might have been involved and had been planning an attack with gas canisters, according to a judicial source. 8:44 a.m. Joaquim Forn, the Catalan Interior Secretary, told RAC1 Radio that initial indications were that the man arrested in Ripoll could be the driver of the car that yesterday drove into a police checkpoint on Avenida Diagonal before abandoning the vehicle in Sant Just Desvern, reports Hannah Strange. The person killed in Sant Just Desvern was apparently the owner of the vehicle, who was found dead from knife wounds inside. It had previously been reported that the driver had died in a police operation. 8:25 a.m. The explosive belts worn by attackers killed by police in cambrils were fake. The Spanish region's head Carles Puigdemont told local radio station RAC1, he said bomb experts had confirmed the explosive belts were duds. 8:04 a.m. Fitzroy Davies, from Wolverhampton, was caught up in the second attack in cambrils and described how police shot dead one of the attackers. He told the BBC he was in Spain for judo camping, was in a meeting with the coaches when the incident unfolded. These girls ran into the bar off the street and then people were running up the road. One of our guys stood up, looked and just said run, so we all ran. This guy came running up the road and was shouting something. I didn't know what it was, so we said call the police. A policeman stands by the car used in a terrorist attack in cambrils early on Friday. Credit LUISGENEAFP. Within 30 seconds the police was already there, jumped out of the car, started shouting at the guy. The guy was then saying something else again. And then they pop, did a couple of shots and he fell down. He stood back up and then he stepped over the fence and he was taunting, smiling, and he carried on walking to the police, and then they gave it to him again, a couple more shots and then he fell to the ground. 7:51 a.m. A third person has been arrested in the Spanish city of Ripoll following the van attack in Barcelona, police and the Catalonia Interior Minister have said. It is unclear if this is the driver of the van that killed 13 people. 7:37 a.m. If you are just joining our live coverage, here's a recap. Terror returned to the streets of Europe on Thursday when a van plowed into a crowd of people in Barcelona, killing at least 13 and injuring more than 100 others. Footage of the scene showed dozens of bodies sprawled across the pavement in Las Ramblas, a street popular with tourists. 2 men, one Spanish and one Moroccan, were arrested, but police said the driver of the van was still at large. In the early hours of Friday morning, in the town of Cambrils, 70 miles away, at least 6 people were hurt when alleged terrorists drove into pedestrians before being shot dead by security forces. Police officers helped the injured after the van crashed into pedestrians in Las Ramblas. Credit David Armenguepa. The 5 attackers in the Audi A3, who were wearing bomb belts, were shot dead, police said. The bomb belts were detonated by the forces. Bomb squad. 2 of the injured in cambrils were in critical condition, emergency services said. Police say the attacks were linked Police at the scene in Cambrils, where 5 terrorists were killed, credit JAUMESELLARTEPA Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. ISIL claimed responsibility for the Barcelona attack as Joaquim Forn, Catalonia's police chief, warned. Unfortunately, the number of fatalities will likely rise. On Thursday night, it was confirmed that a 3-year-old child was among the victims and 15 people were in a critical condition. Police detain a possible suspect after the Barcelona attack, credit Jason Twitter. Liam Searle, 22, from Chichester, West Sussex, said he was skateboarding along the road at around 5:15 p.m. with his headphones on when he heard massive bangs and thuds which he thought were gunshots. "I realized it was the van next to me hitting people," he said. "The van had stopped right next to me. That's when 2 men got out and I ran for my life." Driss Kabir, a 28-year-old of Moroccan origin, was suspected of having rented the van used in the assault. Spanish reports later said he had handed himself in to police, who were investigating whether his brother had stolen his documentation. A handout photo made available by Spanish National Police shows Driss Kabir, alleged to have rented the van which was used to crash into pedestrians in Las Ramblas. Credit Spanish National Police handout. 2 explosions at a house in the town of Alcana, 120 miles south of Barcelona, on Wednesday night were last night linked by police to the attack. Officers said the residents had been preparing explosives. At least 1 person died and more than 16 were injured in what was initially thought to be a gas explosion. Theresa May, the Prime Minister, condemned the terrible Las Ramblas assault and said Britain stood firmly with Spain against terrorism. Picture the van reportedly used in the attack. Donald Trump, the U.S. president, tweeted that the U.S. will do whatever is necessary to help, adding, "Be tough, strong, we love you." The Spanish royal family described the attackers as assassins, criminals who want to terrorize us, while Mariano Rajoy, the Spanish Prime Minister, said the attack was jihadist terrorism requiring a global response. Victims of the Barcelona attack, credit David Armengouff. This was the 8th terror attack using a vehicle in Europe in the past 3 years, following the Nice assault in July 2016 that killed 86 and attacks on Westminster Bridge and London Bridge earlier this year that left 4 and 8 people dead. Earlier this year, jihadists warned that they would be seeking to take their campaign of death and destruction to popular areas in the Mediterranean. Injured people are treated in Barcelona, Spain. The CIA warned Spanish police 2 months ago that Las Ramblas was a potential target, reports said. Stay with us for the latest updates throughout the day. Terror timeline. Ramming attacks involving vehicles.